Hello everyone, this is Jack and welcome to my brand new YouTube channel, Coaster Jawn. I've been an active member of the roller coaster community for about a year now, and I also have an interest in video production, so with my spare time in quarantine, I've decided to start this channel. For my first video, I figured what better way to kick things off than to tell my coaster story. Welcome into Coaster Jawn, and to anyone who is confused about what exactly Jawn is or what it means, it's basically just a Philadelphia slang word that can replace just about anything in a sentence. Some people might say something like, "Give me that Jawn," or "Look at that Jawn," things like that. The word Jawn can pretty much mean anything, which is exactly why I named my channel Coaster Jawn. Not only because I'm from the Delaware Valley, but also because Coaster Jawn is going to cover just about anything and everything related to roller coasters and the theme park industry. I plan on giving you conventional videos like top 10s, ride reviews, park reviews, things like that, but also upload more creative videos which incorporate my other interests like sports and movies. Anyways, let's get into exactly how I first became a roller coaster enthusiast. Like I said earlier, I've only been an active member in the community for about a year now, and by active enthusiast, I mean going on coaster road trips, counting my credits, things like that. Before the coaster obsession, I would say that I was slightly more into roller coasters than the general public or GP, but I wasn't quite an enthusiast just yet. My story began here, at Gillian's Wonderland Pier in Ocean City, New Jersey. I was very young, probably only 4 or 5 years old, when I acquired my first ever roller coaster credit on this, Minor Mike. This is one of the most common kiddie coaster models on Earth, and is now defunct at Gillian's since it moved to Harvest Time Pumpkin Patch in Indiana. For some reason, I distinctly remember this little billy goat statue standing on a cliff, which is a lot more theming than most Minor Mikes have. But I honestly never knew the name of the ride until I did some research last year when I was first becoming an enthusiast and trying to recall all my credits from my childhood. So I had a long way to go from Minor Mike. I grew up in South Jersey, so my home park has always been Six Flags Great Adventure, but I was scared of pretty much every large-scale roller coaster there. The first coaster at Great Adventure which I truly challenged myself to ride was Runaway Mine Train when I was about 10 or 11 years old. I had a crippling fear of heights, and Runaway Mine Train was much taller than I expected. So when we rolled out of the station and towards that 60-foot tall lift hill, which seems a lot taller for a child with a fear of heights, I was terrified. I remember jokingly telling my mom over and over again how much I hated her for convincing me to ride this thing as we slowly climbed the lift hill. But I got through it, and instantly it became my new favorite roller coaster. The next coaster to fix my fear was Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens, Tampa. My family always spent our spring breaks visiting my grandmother on the Gulf Coast of Florida, so Busch Gardens was my home park away from home. It was around 2012 when Cheetah Hunt was still pretty new at the park. I had never ridden a launch coaster at the time, and Cheetah Hunt didn't seem too tall. So I bit the bullet and got in line. I think we had to wait almost 2 hours to ride it, so naturally I was super nervous in line. Hearing the screech of that LSM launch in the station was mortifying. But eventually we got on, and of course, Cheetah Hunt then became my new #1 roller coaster. But my fear of heights still prevented me from riding other major coasters at the park, like Montu, Kumba, and of course, SheiKra. Soon after riding Cheetah Hunt, I was no longer afraid of the middle-of-the-pack roller coasters at Great Adventure, like Superman Ultimate Flight, Bizarro, Skull Mountain, Batman the Ride, and at the time, Rolling Thunder, rest in peace. I was still too afraid to ride the tallest rides in the park, like El Toro, Nitro, and of course, Kingda Ka. Batman became my new favorite at Six Flags, but Cheetah Hunt still reigned supreme as my #1 coaster. I went back to Great Adventure again a year later, and finally rode El Toro, which is now my #1 roller coaster, but at that time I was absolutely a member of the general public and didn't really know the difference between just your average wooden coaster and the elite woody that El Toro really is. Later that summer is when I finally rode Nitro for the first time. At 230 feet tall, Nitro was absolutely horrifying, but naturally I loved it right after, and it became my new #1 immediately after that ride. Sorry El Toro, GP Jack didn't respect you just yet. Over the course of the next few years, in high school and college, I casually visited my usual parks of Great Adventure and Busch Gardens, while also going to Hershey Park and Dorney Park for the first time, as well as heading to the West Coast to visit parks like Disneyland, California Adventure, Universal Hollywood, and Knott's Berry Farm for the first time. Sadly, we didn't have enough time to go to Six Flags Magic Mountain, but my credit count still grew, even though I didn't keep track of it at that time. I also began to casually watch roller coaster YouTube videos from time to time. I primarily watched Coaster Force POV videos, as well as some top 10 videos from channels like Coaster Studios and Theme Park Crazy. Finally, in the summer of 2019, my girlfriend and I decided to get season passes to Six Flags Great Adventure, a park that she hadn't really been to before, or at least not ridden any of the big coasters. We ended up visiting Great Adventure 11 times last season, 8 times in the summer, twice for Fright Fest, and once for Holiday in the Park. Quick trips to Great Adventure became our favorite activity to do together. This would not have been possible if we hadn't gotten our season passes on sale, which came with a Gold Plus upgrade that included free parking. If we had to pay $20 to $30 to park my car every trip, there's no way we would have gone more than maybe 2 or 3 times. I think having a season pass or membership at various amusement park chains is crucial to being an enthusiast. Last summer was when I became a true roller coaster enthusiast. In my free time, I started researching roller coasters more frequently thanks to websites like Roller Coaster Database, All Hail RCDB, and Coast to Coaster. I also started watching more videos from Coaster Studios and Theme Park Crazy. And I also discovered channels like Airtime Thrills and El Toro Ryan. All of those channels were big inspirations for me to create Coaster Jawn, and those very same channels inspired me to make the most of my Six Flags Season Pass last summer. The great thing about the basic Six Flags Season Pass is that it's less than $100 and allows you to visit all 21 Six Flags amusement and water parks. The other major theme park chains like Cedar Fair and SeaWorld Entertainment also offer this perk, but it's with their most expensive Platinum Plus memberships, which vary between $200 and $300. As Airtime Thrills would say, Six Flags really is the discount chain. I'll plug that video in the description. So with that discounted Six Flags perk, I convinced my still somewhat GP girlfriend to come along with me on 2 roller coaster road trips. The first trip was in June of 2019 to Six Flags New England. The second was to the DC area in July to visit Six Flags America in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. To be expected, New England was much better than Six Flags America, but I was still more than happy to acquire 9 more credits at what some people call the worst Six Flags park. I think over the course of these 2 trips, my girlfriend slowly became an enthusiast as well, because now she's like me and she also keeps track of her coaster count. And I think she's currently at about 98 or 99 coasters, so we'll be sure to get her up to 100 once the parks around us open back up. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my final stepping stone to overcome my fear of heights, riding Kingda Ka for the first time. Embarrassingly, my fear of the world's tallest roller coaster kept me from riding it until I was 20 years old. I finally conquered the king of coasters last summer, just before our New England road trip, and here was my reaction. Yeah, I nearly myself. Once I finally rode Kingda Ka, that's when I could safely say that I was a true roller coaster enthusiast, and that no ride would ever scare me as much as Kingda Ka did. Since that fateful ride on Kingda Ka, I've been on a handful of other roller coaster road trips, and I've just about doubled my coaster count, going from about 70 coasters last year to almost 140 now. I know I haven't been on nearly as many roller coasters as other coaster YouTubers, but once this pandemic is finally in the clear, I'll be sure to make my way to more parks in the future. Before COVID, I had been planning on taking a week-long road trip out to Cedar Point, Kings Island, Kentucky Kingdom, and Holiday World, but that plan has obviously been derailed, and likely won't happen this summer. However, I'd still like to try to visit parks like Kings Dominion, Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and Knoebels for the first time, and will definitely get back to my home parks once they reopen as well. So that's pretty much it. That's how I went from GP to coaster enthusiast over the course of my life. Coaster Jawn will be sure to provide lots of roller coaster content coming soon, so if you'd like to support a young budding roller coaster YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe to Coaster Jawn, like the video, and comment any questions for me, or let me know how you became an enthusiast. Thank you all for watching, and ride on!